Hi everyone, a huge welcome to Steve's Kitchen Thailand, and today we're making another Thai dessert, a Sankaya Fak Thong, or what we will call from now on a pumpkin custard. I've got this wonderful Japanese style pumpkin, and this is the one we want for this recipe. Now come over here, I'll show you how we're going to start. Now I would have liked a pumpkin with a little bit of orange on the outside. This was the only one I could find, but traditionally we would carve a circle out of the top of this. Now a serrated knife does work better. You don't want too big a hole. We're just going to at a slight angle like this as well. It does really help, and that should pop out of there nice and easily. I'm just going to trim off the excess pulp there. The next thing we want to do is get all the sinew and the seeds out from the inside. So we're going to hollow this out. Now I've managed to scrape all the seeds out of there. It isn't difficult. If you do decide to rinse this, you're going to have to turn it upside down and let it dry out, because if it's wet inside, the custard won't stick. Now traditionally the recipe calls for duck eggs. They've got a lovely big fat plump yellow yolk in them like that. Now we're going to be using 4 duck eggs. If you can't get duck eggs, just use 4 regular eggs and add 1 extra yolk just for that extra creaminess. So we're just going to break the eggs into a bowl. Now you look at the rich creaminess and the yellow of those duck eggs. Now traditionally you take all of your ingredients, you've got palm sugar, coconut milk and the pandan leaves, and you mix them together in a bowl with your hand. I'm going to show you a way which I think gets better flavour from the pandan leaves and is a little bit simpler. We're going to pop those eggs aside a moment. Now I've got half a cup of palm sugar. If you haven't got palm sugar, you could use a soft brown sugar. Just going to pop that into our bowl. Add about half a cup. I've got a cup here of coconut milk or coconut cream. Just going to put about half of that in there. Keep some aside. This is going to help cool down the mixture afterwards. I've got 3 pandan leaves. We want to break the surface up, so we're just going to tie them into a knot, and this will help release some of the flavors. We pop that in there as well. Then we take this over to our stove and just heat it until the sugars have dissolved. Now don't let this boil, but bring it up so all the sugars have dissolved. I'm just going to take 1/4 teaspoon of salt, pop it in there as well. Now this really lets the pandan flavour absorb into the custard, and it gives it almost a vanilla flavour. Now I'm just going to pop that mixture down there. What we're going to do is add our coconut milk, the rest of it, in with the mixture, and just let it settle on the side there for about 10 minutes or so until it's cool enough that it won't cook the eggs. Now I've let that cool down for a few minutes, and I'm just going to lift the pandan leaves. They've done their job. Now if you can't get hold of pandan leaves, a teaspoon of vanilla extract works really well. Now I like to add a teaspoon of cornstarch or rice flour in with this. I've kept a little bit of the coconut milk aside just so that we can mix this into a paste before we add it in. Otherwise it'll be just a bit too clumpy. And what this will do, it just stabilizes the custard a little bit, helps it set. We'll pop that in there, give it a stir through. Now for those beautiful duck eggs. Just going to whisk these together. Now we're traveling, so I haven't got a whisk. I'm just going to use a fork. But ideally you use a whisk and get this as smooth as possible. Now I'm pretty happy with that. It's about as smooth as I'm going to get it with a fork. And we're just going to pour that now in with our flavors, our sugars. Then I want to continue to whisk this together and get it as even as you possibly can. So there is my sweet, salty coconut custard mix, and I'm going to pour it now into my pumpkin. Just be careful. As it happens, that is exactly where I wanted it to stop, just at the top of the opening. Perfect. Now what we want to do is steam this for about 45 minutes. Now you know the steamer I've got come down here. It's my wok with the steaming basket. I've filled that with water. You're going to have to keep an eye on that, make sure it doesn't burn dry. We're going to lift our beautiful pumpkin, place it in the center of the steamer. Might as well take the lid as well, just pop it in beside. Now if you let this go too long, that pumpkin may well split, and one of the problems a lot of people have is the pumpkin splitting. It may happen to us even today, we'll see. You could actually put a band of foil around it to keep it secure, but I'm going to take the risk. Just pop the cover on there, and I want that to steam away, as I said, 45 minutes, and then I'll show you what we do next. Right, that has been 45 minutes exactly. I haven't lifted this to have a look yet, so you're going to see it as I do. Now come down here. We do have to test this, but let's have the big reveal. Oh, look at that. The custard is blooming out of the top, and you would expect that. That's why I left it a little bit lower. I'm going to take a knife. I just want to test if that is set or not. I can pop the knife in there and feel it's coming out nice and clean. And this little piece of pumpkin, the lid here, just see how tender that is. Now we've been lucky, this hasn't split open, but don't handle this too much now. We want this to cool down completely before we serve it. Now I'm really, really pleased with the way this has come out, so let's leave it to cool down, and then I'll show you what we do with it next. Right, my Sankaya Fak Thong, said it again, is looking pretty good. Come down here, I popped it in the fridge to set it firm. Now I'm a little worried because where I put the knife in, it trickled out some custard. Will I get air holes in the center? We don't know, but let's cut this thing in half and see. Got my knife going through, hopefully the custard has set. You're seeing it as I see it. That is looking pretty good. Pretty darn beautiful, if I do say so myself. Now this discoloration often comes in the Sankaya Fak Thong, so I'm not worried about it. People have told me to expect that. Now traditionally this is sliced a little bit like a pizza or a pie, so let's get and cut some slices. So we're going to cut this through, as I say, a little bit like a pie. And that is the, see if that comes loose, that is the sort of slice that you're looking to serve. Now the pumpkin is wonderful and tender, and it's absorbed some of the flavor. I'm going to give this a try in a moment. This is way too big for us. There's staff here where we're staying in the apartment, and I'm going to share it out with them. Hopefully they'll like it. So I'm going to get some of that lovely custard and the succulent pumpkin flesh as well. I'll let you know what I think. That is a really interesting combination of slightly savory and sweet. The flavors from the pandan come through really well. This is a real trier. This would be a great one, by the way, for making Halloween time. Now, if you decide to give this a go, share across your photos and experiences with me here. Share the love, also give this one the thumbs up. And I will see you in another Thai adventure very shortly. Be good. Now, I'm so lucky to have a Thai audience that can share this with me. I've taken that down to the staff here, and everybody says it's delicious, but I got some really good constructive feedback. And what I reckon, because we got this discoloration on the top, is possibly having the lid on the pumpkin while it's cooking, which means you'd have to lower the level a little bit when you fill it. And secondly, my steamer is probably a little bit too fierce. You know, I've only got that little wok and a steamer on top. Probably a more gentle steam in a proper steamer would have worked better. But overall, I think I'm getting 8 out of 10. So be good. Now, I've always been a sucker for a great dessert and something a little spicy. So Thailand is serving up time and time again some great experiences. I'll leave some links up here to some other videos. Please subscribe to the channel, and I always love to hear your comments. Be good, and see you next time.